The morning in Hyannis draped the backyard in a cool, gentle hush, dew sparkling like 1,000 tiny diamonds across the grass. 8-year-old Emma Thompson padded barefoot from the back door, her flannel pajama pants whispering against each blade. She reached out to Max, her first guardian, whose muzzle had silvered with age and whose deep eyes held stories of loyalty. Behind him, 13 other German shepherds moved as one. Luna to her left, Rex just ahead, their paws muffled but deliberate. No leash tugged at them, no human voice guided them. Just a shared understanding in the stillness of dawn. What could this quiet circle of 14 mean? The truth lay in Emma's gentle touch and in a silence louder than any bark. Since the tragic accident that stole her parents 2 years before, Emma's world had fallen mute. Renowned canine trainers until that night on the highway, her mother and father left behind a daughter who had stopped speaking altogether. She lived with her grandfather, Walter Thompson, a man whose firefighting past weighed heavily on him now, each breath shadowed by nightmares of what he'd fought to save. Emma didn't cry, she didn't scream. Instead, she retreated into a world of memory too painful for words. But in the hush of morning, surrounded by those 14 steadfast hearts, she discovered a fragile peace, one woven from soft fur and unwavering eyes. How could loyalty and grief intertwine so seamlessly? Every sunrise ushered in their silent ritual. Emma stepped onto the grass training field behind the house, small amid 14 towering bodies. A lift of her right hand sent Max into a smooth sit. A flick of her fingers coaxed Luna through a graceful weave around wooden posts. The next morning, the dogs responded with sharpened reflexes, their instincts dialed into her unspoken urgency. Even the youngest sensed that something hung in the air like a storm cloud. What storm was gathering beyond the dawn? The warning came not with thunder, but with a whisper of smoke. At 2:47 a.m., a faulty wire in the storage shed sparked orange tongues that licked at dry wood. The flames hungrily consumed brittle boards, sending ribbons of smoke snaking toward the house. No human stirred at first. Then Rex's ears twitched in the dark. He bolted upright, nostrils flaring at the acrid scent. Max leapt to his paws as Luna emitted a low, urgent growl that shook the night. One by one, the pack rose in silent concert, eyes bright and bodies poised. No chaos, only choreography born of instinct and love. Would this family dance of rescue succeed when words had failed them for so long? Racing through the hallway, Rex's claws scraped the wooden floor, Max close behind. Smoke curled around corners, cold fingers seeking to choke the life from the walls. Luna and 3 others, Blitz, Nico and Zara, barreled into Emma's room. Zara's sharp barking wasn't panic, it was alert. Emma, deep in sleep, felt a nudge on her sleeve, a gentle paw at her arm. In an instant, the dogs formed a living shield. Max on one side, Luna on the other, Nico and Blitz pushing from behind. Zara darted ahead, barking directions through driftwood thick smoke, while Bear and Kira herded the rest of the pack toward the back door. Finn screeched his warning to neighbors beyond the night. Could these 4-legged heroes guide their human family to safety? Emma awoke in the biting cold air outside, coughing until her lungs screamed. Her eyelids flickered open to the shapes of 13 anxious faces, tongues flicking, bodies pressed close. She tried to rise, but a crash echoed from the porch. She turned to see Walter stumbling into the night, clutching his chest. He collapsed, unmoving. Fear stabbed at Emma's heart, but then resolve blazed in its place. She wouldn't be helpless. Not here, not now. She raised her arm and pointed. Max bounded to Walter's side, nudging his chin, checking breath with tender urgency. Rex curled at Walter's head. Emma's hand plunged in rhythmic air compressions. Was this how a family fought to stay together? Luna knew exactly where the emergency kit lay and sprinted to the kitchen, paws skidding across tile. She dragged the plastic case back, dropping it at Emma's feet. With trembling fingers, Emma pried it open and found the nitroglycerin spray her grandfather kept. She released it just as she had seen Walter do countless times, misting his mouth. Zara raced down to the street, barking in precise cadence and so is of pure urgency. Bear and Kira flanked Emma, offering warm bodies to lean against. Blitz stood guard at Walter's feet, blinking into the haze. Finn's echoing barks carried the plea for help to the sleeping town. Then, a twitch, Walter's chest rose, fell, once, twice, then settled into an unsteady but steady rhythm. In that fleeting moment of stillness, life clung to breath. How much faith can a silent command inspire? Red and blue lights splashed across the house as paramedics arrived, the fire mostly tamed, damage confined to the shed and back wall. They found Emma seated on the cold ground, ash-smudged cheeks framed by a curtain of blonde hair, flanked by a circle of 14 shepherds. Not one bark broke the night's hush. These dogs were workers, guardians of the fragile miracle before them. She didn't say a word, whispered an EMT. She just moved her hands, and they moved like soldiers. A neighbour replied, voice thick with awe. In that moment, the world glimpsed something no fire could scorch, the bond between a girl and her pack. By dawn, photos of Emma and her silent saviours spread through Hyannis like wildfire, this time fueling wonder, not fear. At Town Hall, the dog limit ordinance became the centre of debate. Complaints turned to defences. Those dogs protect, they save, declared a neighbour who lived 2 doors down. An ex-Marine raised his cane and spoke of war, of trained units frozen in crisis. But these dogs acted when a girl told them to, he said, voice ringing in the chamber. That's not noise, that's love. Hearts softened, hands shifted ballots, and the ordinance was suspended indefinitely. Emma and Walter's property gained status as a certified training and rescue site. In the eyes of the law, this was no transgression. It was a gift. Could a community ever see discipline and love as inseparable? Sunlight streamed through the windows of the freshly repainted house like forgiveness reborn. Emma sat on the living room floor, sketchbook spread across her knees. Max lay closest, a sentinel in soft fur. He nudged her hand with his nose, a gentle question echoing in his whine. Emma's pencil paused over a half-shaded heart. She stroked Max's head and barely more than a breath whispered, "Good boy." The words hung in the air, fragileds of glass and hope. Max's tail tapped twice, thrice, then thumped in contentment. Had she really spoken or imagined it in longing? Walter stood in the doorway, coffee mug slipped from his grasp, shattering on the floor. He didn't move to clean it up. Instead, he walked toward her, voice trembling, "Say it again." Emma blinked, looking from Walter to Max, then back. Her lips parted with newfound certainty. "Good boy." That single phrase unlocked something deep within her, a song of hope that had waited too long to be sung. As grandfather and granddaughter embraced, the house trembled not with loss but with return, the first child's voice it had heard in years. Could a single word rebuild a broken world? In the days that followed, life settled into a gentle rhythm. The shed's char and the ordinance's shadow faded. Walter's strength returned in small increments, each day a victory. Emma's voice blossomed in quiet fragments, calling commands, speaking her dog's names, giggling at their antics. Afternoons found her beneath the ancient elm, sketchbook in hand, her pack curled at her feet like loyal sentinels. She no longer needed elaborate signals. The dogs read her eyes, her breath, the spaces between heartbeats. One evening she wrote in her notebook, pausing to caress Max's head, "Love doesn't need to speak, and loyalty never leaves." She looked up, and Max exhaled a soft sigh of understanding. In a world that had taken so much, Emma had found something unshakable, not in words, not in safety, but in the bond that bound her and 14 silent guardians together. A love that never fades, loyalty that never strays, and a little girl who at last found her voice. Can you hear it, whispering through every wagging tail and every dawn's first light?